That disembodied screaming is just one of many deeply unsettling things happening inside this home. The footage was shared on TikTok by user Experiment Insomnia, and it all began back in 2016 when he captured his first strange clip. Since then, the scary videos coming out of this house haven't stopped. It starts with the dog. Ragnar is normally calm, but he won't go near the garage. He backs up, he paces, he refuses to go down there. The owner says Ragnar started acting like this in the middle of the night, barking at the door and growing frightened whenever he tried to coax him toward the garage. He'd offer the dog treats. Ragnar wouldn't budge. Then a home security camera catches this. Things escalate in this footage. While working from home, the OP catches this. He goes to investigate. The garage is empty, no person, no pets, no animals, nothing that could throw a shadow like that. Then comes the night the screaming started. He was up at 1 AM getting a glass of water when he heard it. Sound like a child screaming. The screaming continues into a second clip. It seems to be coming from the garage. He opens the door and the screaming stops immediately. The owner thinks all of this might be linked to something the family found when they first moved in. A doll tucked away in a drawer. They never went near it because his wife found it unsettling. When he finally looked closer, he noticed the small ornamental bag stitched to it. Inside the bag were teeth. One day, he went up to the dining room to work when a security camera caught something odd happening outside. Things escalate further when the homeowner hears some strange noises late at night and starts filming. Listen closely around the 29-second mark. Footsteps. And then, beneath the kitchen bench, this happens.
Estás aquí.
So what's going on here? 10 years on, the activity in this house still hasn't stopped, and the family is still living alongside whatever it is that screams from the garage at night.
Hi, Mackenzie. Step out for me. I'm Detective Jesus. I'm the one who's been investigating the crash. You're under arrest for aggravated murder ×2, okay?
You might already know the name Mackenzie Shirilla. Her case became national news, and it's the subject of the recent Netflix documentary, The Crash. In July 2022, in Strongsville, Ohio, Shirilla, then 17, drove her car into a brick building at high speed. Her boyfriend, 20-year-old Dominic Russo, and their friend, 19-year-old Davian Flanagan, were both killed. Shirilla survived. In 2023, a judge found the crash was intentional and convicted her of murder. She's serving 15 years to life. That's the case most people know. Here's the part fewer people have heard. When new body cam footage was released, viewers listening closely to one section noticed something they say shouldn't be there. It comes from inside the footage as an officer speaks to Shirilla at the scene. The officer tells her he isn't going to hurt her.
Don't. I'm not gonna hurt you.
Listen to what comes next.
You okay?
If we play that back amplified, it sounds like a faint voice whispering, "She killed us." The whisper was reportedly first pointed out by Dom's sister, and once people heard it, the debate started. Some are convinced the officer heard it too, because a moment later he says something that sounds like, "What was that?"
You okay?
Others aren't so sure. Listen to plainly, without amplification, the officer may simply be asking Shirilla if she's okay. And a faint, distorted sound on body cam audio is exactly the kind of thing the human ear will shape into words. So is this just audio pareidolia, the mind finding a voice in the noise? Or did a body camera at the scene of a tragedy pick up something no one can fully explain?
You okay?
Every morning, 3:45 a.m.
3:45 in the morning, the same time every single day. That's when the gas station attendant in this next clip says it appears. Keep your eyes between the petrol pumps around the 18-second mark.
Oh, there he is. There he is. I told you. I told you.
It can be hard to see at first, so here it is after we've brightened it right up.
There he is. There he is. I told you. I told you. He is. There he is. I told you. I told you.
A figure moving right to left, passing between the pumps. It's faint, easy to miss, but once you've seen it, it's hard to unsee.
There he is. I told you. I told you.
And according to the attendant, this isn't a one-off. It happens every morning. Same path, same direction, at exactly 3:45.
There he is. There he is. I told you. I told you.
So, back up here on the 4th floor, yet again.
An empty hospital late at night. The wards are dark, the corridors are silent, and the only person walking them is the one holding the camera. His name is Seabram, and he works the night shift as an orderly. For a while now, he's been documenting what he believes is following him through the building. And it always seems to find him in the same kinds of places, the rooms everyone else avoids.
And right first to the right is.
It starts with a housekeeping cupboard. Sebrum has heard the rumors about this room. He expects to find it locked. It isn't.
So they said what you do is turn off the light and then just wait. But I'm not about to stand in here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn off the light and then.
He shows the empty cupboard, switches off the light, and steps back outside.
And going under. Now tell me if y'all see or hear anything. I ain't going in there.
Listen closely. There's a low sound in the dark, like something breathing.
Now tell me if y'all see or hear anything. I ain't going in there. Anything?
On the 5th floor, he says he always gets a weird vibe.
This floor makes me feel uneasy all the time. I never feel good up here. So you see, it's just me. I could have sworn I heard something. I'm not entirely sure.
As Sebrum walks the corridor, he hears it.
What the?
He swipes his card and opens the door straight away. The room is empty. There's no one inside. And here's what makes it strange. He demonstrates that the handle can only be rattled from the inside. Working the outer handle does nothing to the one within. So whatever was shaking that handle had to have been standing in the room. The same room he'd just shown was empty.
When you move the handle, that handle doesn't move. This handle, it locks. Okay?
Then there's the supply cupboard again. After his first clip went viral, Sebrum promised viewers he'd go back in there. He turns off the lights and stands in the dark.
Here we go. Okay. There's a door there.
That's when he hears it.
You can't really see, but you get what I'm saying. I'm talking so that way you can hear. What the hell?
A bell tinkling softly out of nowhere.
I'm talking so that way you can hear. What the hell?
The hospital does have a bell. It sits out in the corridor, the kind patients ring when they're cleared to go home, or when they've beaten something like cancer.
And
a small ritual to mark good news.
This is the bell y'all was talking about yesterday. That was what we heard.
But that bell is nowhere near the supply cupboard, and it rang anyway.
That was what we heard. And that shit was
Then the camera catches this.
Oh shit! No.
Which brings us to the chapel. Of all the places in the hospital, Sebrum says the chapel holds the most. The most pain, the most grief, the most goodbyes. And it's the spot with the most reports of things moving on their own and sounds with no source.
Because people say that crazy things happen here all the time.
One night, walking the hallway outside, he hears a piano playing.
He's went back in the room.
He heads inside. The chapel is quiet, nothing out of place, so he sits down and he waits.
Just wait. Holy hell, that scared the hell out of me.
He spins around. There's no one at the keys, nothing that could have touched them. And then, on the wall, he watches his own shadow move.
Is that my shadow? Do y'all see a shadow on the wall? Or is that just me?
Sebram still works there. He still walks those corridors every night, camera in hand. Whatever's been keeping pace with him through the dark hasn't left. And in a building this full of endings, you have to wonder how much of it never really checked out.
What the?
ये नारियल हिलने लगा है.
Over on Instagram, user Wasted posted a clip of a man on live television who claims he can levitate objects with his mind. And right there in the studio, in front of the cameras, a coconut rises up and hovers in the air.
हर चीज का एक समय होता है.
नहीं, इस समय में ये स्टूडियो में अभी लाइव करके दिखा रहे हैं.
The host is loving it. A genuine miracle broadcast live.
जो आपने चलाया था ऐसे पकड़ के भी दिखा दिया.
There's just one small problem. This was filmed in 4K. Watch the close-up.
एकदम रुक जाइए, झूल जाइए, प्रश्नों का उत्तर भी देगा ये. क्या बात है?
Yeah, that's fishing line.
एकदम रुक जाइए, झूल जाइए, प्रश्नों का उत्तर भी देगा ये. क्या बात है?
As the caption so beautifully puts it, bro forgot cameras are in 4K now.
नारियल हवा में उड़ चुका है.
10 years ago, on a grainy old broadcast, this might have fooled a few people. Today, you can count the strands. Sorry, Baba. Better luck next time.
की तरह ऊपर नीचे जो आपने चलाया था ऐसे पकड़ के भी दिखा दिया. और यहाँ देखिए, यहीं पे रोकूंगा हवा में. यहीं स्टॉप. एकदम रुक जाइए, झूल जाइए, प्रश्नों का उत्तर भी देगा ये. क्या बात है?
I accidentally went to the most haunted room alone. That's how this next one begins.
Hello?
It was shared on Instagram by Amanda, who says she was staying at a quaint little bed and breakfast when she found herself in its most haunted room. By herself.
So I do have a little voice recorder here. If you'd like to chat at all, I'll put it down on this table here. I'll sit here. So I'll play the recorder.
She sets a small voice recorder down on a table, then she starts to talk to the room.
Feel free. Thought I heard something over there. Is there anyone up here with me?
She asks the questions you'd expect. Is anyone here? Am I alone? Am I safe?
Am I alone in here? Am I safe in here?
Then off camera, something happens. A sound. A book has fallen from the shelf.
I'm gonna stop the recording. A weird deja vu. Oh, Jesus.
A little later, the camera is back on the bookshelf.
Oh! Thank you.
A second book slides loose, falls and tumbles to the floor. Now, there are ordinary explanations for a book coming off a shelf. An overloaded ledge, a slight lean, a floor that carries every footstep through an old building. Give a tired old shelf enough time and gravity does the rest. But here's the part Amanda keeps coming back to, and it's in the audio.
A weird deja vu. Oh, Jesus.
At one point, she says out loud that she's getting a strange sense of deja vu. And when she plays the recorder back, the timing is deeply odd. Her recorded voice seems to react to the first book falling before the book actually falls. On the playback, she hears herself say she thought she heard something over there, a moment too early.
I'm gonna stop the recording. A weird deja vu. Oh, Jesus.
It may simply be that she's playing the recording back at just the right moment, lining up by chance with what's happening in the room, a trick of timing. Or, for a few seconds in that little room, the recorder was running a step ahead of everyone else.
A weird deja vu. Oh, Jesus. Mm. Oh.
This scary video was shared on TikTok by Black Hills Paranormal, who says it was caught by a close friend on their home security camera. No edits, just watch closely. And then this. A transparent figure crosses the kitchen, moving right to left before it's gone. Skeptics might point to the way night vision plays tricks. A reflection off a glossy fridge, a passing headlight, an insect drifting close to the lens. On grainy footage, the eye fills in the rest. But that doesn't sit right with the friend who recorded it. According to the uploader, they pulled the footage the very next morning, and to this day they have no way of explaining what their camera caught crossing the kitchen while they slept. Something fell out of the sky behind this volcano, and moments later something rose back up. This footage was posted to Reddit's High Strangeness by user Sherlock Smith, and it's been spreading fast ever since. The setting is Mayon Volcano in the Philippines, one of the most active volcanoes on Earth. On the night of the 25th of May 2026, it was mid-eruption, red lava spilling down its slopes, and then at 10:33 PM the sky lit up too. A bright object rises up, climbing back into the sky, going up from exactly where something just came down. It didn't take long for the theories to start. A meteor strike, a secret impact, and inevitably a UFO fleeing the scene the moment the fireball hit. So let's go through what we actually know. The footage is real. The official volcano monitoring camera caught it alongside live streams and dash cams from cars in the area. The streak of green light was a meteor, a so-called fireball, entering the atmosphere. That part isn't in dispute. Even the country's Volcanology Institute initially announced the meteor had struck the volcano's northern slopes, but they quickly issued a correction. After reviewing seismic data, infrasound readings, and footage from other cameras, they confirmed the meteor never reached the ground at all. It disintegrated high in the atmosphere the way the vast majority of meteors do. So there was no impact, and that leaves the object that rose up afterwards. According to Harvard astrophysicist Avi Loeb, the explanation is almost mundane. He believes the rising light is a satellite passing overhead at that exact moment, catching the sunlight and reflecting it back down as a glint. Not something launching out of the volcano, just a trick of timing and perspective. A satellite in orbit lining up perfectly with the spot where the meteor vanished. But UFO enthusiasts aren't buying it. To them, the satellite theory is a little too convenient. What they see is simpler and far stranger. A meteor crashing down to Earth behind the mountain, and then an unidentified object lifting off and flying away from the very same spot. A coincidence of orbiting hardware and sunlight, or something that came down and then chose to leave? Watch it back and see what your eyes want to believe. First up, the disclosure community spent months waiting for the US government to come clean about UFOs. What they got instead was a prank. On the 28th of May 2026, the Trump White House quietly launched a website at the domain aliens.gov, teasing it on X with a 10-second video and 3 words: "They walk among us." For a few hours, the UFO world lit up, convinced this was the official portal they'd been promised. Then people actually clicked through. The site redirects to a page on the White House's own domain that opens with, quote, "For 60 years, the US government has kept a closely guarded secret." But it isn't about extraterrestrials. It's an immigration enforcement page complete with a live map of ICE arrests and a tip line to report, quote, "Suspicious aliens." The disclosure crowd had been trolled in writing by their own government. Sticking with non-human intelligence, but taking a hard turn into the religious. On the 29th of May, Tucker Carlson released a conversation running nearly 2 hours with Father Stephen DeYoung, an Orthodox priest from Lafayette, Louisiana. The subject that the Nephilim, the mysterious giants mentioned in Genesis chapter 6, are not only real, but are demonic hybrids occupying positions of authority in society right now. DeYoung walked through ancient flood myths, the idea that human technology was handed to us by demons, and the claim that these bloodlines never fully disappeared. It's being called one of the most widely shared Nephilim discussions in years, and it's landed right as the wider UFO conversation keeps circling the same unsettling question. What if the intelligence behind all this was never extraterrestrial at all? Which brings us neatly to a theory that's quietly been taking over the UFO conversation. It's called the crypto-terrestrial hypothesis, and the idea is simple, but deeply strange. What if UFO occupants aren't visitors from another planet, but an ancient, hidden population that has shared the Earth with us all along, living underground, beneath the oceans, or even disguised and walking among us? The term was coined by the late writer Mac Tonnies in his book The Crypto-Terrestrials, and for years it sat on the fringe. But recently, it's been resurfacing everywhere, even getting a serious write-up from academics willing to argue it should be considered alongside the alien theory. Because if you can't prove they came from space, the next question is uncomfortable. What if they were here first? And finally, from the hidden to the unmistakable. On Saturday, the 30th of May, 2026, just after 2 in the afternoon, a meteor exploded in the skies off the coast of Massachusetts. NASA later confirmed it was around 5 feet wide, weighed roughly 5.5 tons, and slammed into the atmosphere before breaking apart over Cape Cod Bay, releasing energy estimated at around 300 tons of TNT. The double boom and shockwave were felt across 6 states, with reports flooding in from as far apart as Delaware and Montreal. People reported windows rattling, homes shaking, and pets bolting for cover. And here's the part worth noting. The American Media Society has been quietly logging an unusual surge in large fireballs and sonic booms through 2026, including a mysterious blast over South Carolina just 1 day earlier, on the 29th of May, that officials still haven't fully explained. That's your rapid fire round. Now back to the countdown. At first, there's nothing strange about this one at all. This scary video was shared on TikTok by TUS.me too, and it shows a group of people singing together outdoors. An ordinary moment, easy to scroll right past. Then the camera pans. There, standing among them, is a small girl. Long dark hair hanging over her face, a white dress, and no more than half the height of everyone around her. If she looks familiar, it's because she's the spitting image of the classic long-haired ghost, the one from The Ring. Nobody in the group seems to notice her, they just keep singing as if there's nothing standing in their midst at all. Maybe it's a trick of the angle. A child half hidden in the crowd, shrunk by perspective. But the longer you look at her, standing there among the singers with her face behind that curtain of dark hair, the harder she is to explain away.
Gente, tem alguma coisa acontecendo lá fora, ó. Ó, esse aqui é o alerta das aves.
This one didn't start with lights in the sky, it started with the animals. On the 31st of May 2026, on a rural property in Campo Largo in the state of Paraná, Brazil, an influencer named Mike Leal woke to find his animals deeply unsettled, agitated, spooked by something he couldn't see.
Ih, gente, tem alguma coisa lá embaixo. Olha os cavalos também. Ih. Ai, gente, será que é a onça? Ó.
Make isn't a UFO hunter. He's known for a quiet life in the country, looking after the roughly 280 rescued animals he keeps on his land. This was not his usual kind of content.
Ó os animais agitados.
Then he found the damage. His electric fence had been knocked down, and he couldn't work out what could have done it. That's when the sound started. Coming from the tree line, a strange low noise. Make struggled to describe it. He said it was like someone choking or breathing, like a rope being pulled tight until it snapped, and it seemed to be moving closer. On camera, he says he's too scared to go down toward the woods, that he's locking the animals away, that he's thinking of leaving for the city.
Gente, eu juro por Deus, eu gravei algo muito louco aqui agora, tá? Eu acabei de ligar pra minha mãe.
And then after dark, he says he finds the source of the sound, up above the trees.
Pera aí, gente, o celular não vai focar muito, tá longe. Olha, gente. Vocês estão vendo isso?
A cluster of lights hanging over the ridge, blinking, shifting color, yellow, blue, red.
Olha ali, que lindo. Gente, eu não sei o que é isso, vocês estão vendo? Ó.
Maker's beside himself. He says it's no plane, that it's sitting motionless over the river in the middle of nowhere. He claims the object is a vast structure, somewhere between 50 and 70 meters across, shaped almost like an eye, with a red glow beneath it.
Ó. Tem algo ali em cima piscando muito.
And this is where we have to be honest with you, because the footage has been hailed by some as the best scary video of a UFO in years. But when you actually watch it, that's a hard claim to back up. What you can see is a small, soft cluster of distant lights, smeared by a phone camera straining to focus in the dark.
Olha, gente.
A lot of the frustration in the comments comes down to one simple thing. He filmed the whole encounter on his phone's low-quality front-facing camera, the selfie lens, instead of flipping it around to the far sharper camera on the back. The one moment you'd want crystal clarity, and we're left with a blurry smudge of light.
Gente, ali não tem estrada, não tem serra, não tem nada, tá, gente? Pelo amor.
But the footage is only half of why this story exploded, because of what happened next. Make posted a document to his Instagram, an official-looking summons, supposedly from ABIN, Brazil's national intelligence agency. In it, a person identifying themselves as an agent requests a private meeting to discuss his case. The wording is careful, even reassuring. It says the purpose is to, quote, secure his constitutional rights as a Brazilian citizen and to advise him on possible contact from international intelligence agencies. It lists a registration number and even tells him how to verify the message through the agency's official portal. To his hundreds of thousands of new followers, this was extraordinary. The intelligence services quietly reaching out, confirmation that something real had happened on that hillside. There was just one problem. The ABIN flatly denied all of it. The agency told Brazilian media it had never contacted Make and that it did not recognize the document he'd shared as genuine. The summons, in other words, was a fake. And once one piece of a story turns out to be invented, it's only natural to start questioning the rest. So let's lay out the skeptical case because it's substantial. The Brazilian Air Force checked their records for the night of the 31st of May and stated plainly that no object was detected on air defense radar and nothing unusual was reported by any local airport. The lights themselves are distant, blurry, and consistent with any number of ordinary explanations, from aircraft to drones to lights on a far-off hill. The dramatic details, the 50-meter eye-shaped craft, the mechanical sound exist only in Make's description, not in anything the camera actually captured. And the one document that elevated this from a viral clip to a government-level mystery has been confirmed as a forgery.
Gente, ali não tem estrada, não tem serra, não tem nada, tá, gente? Pelo amor de Deus, eu não sei o que é isso aqui, ó.
There's also the matter of what May gained. In the space of a few days, he went from around 40,000 followers to more than 800,000. A modest animal rescue account transformed overnight into one of the most talked about profiles in the country. And yet, not everything has a tidy answer. The animals really were distressed. The fence really was down. Make's fear, his anxiety, the calls to his mother, all of it reads as genuine to many who've watched it. He has continued to insist he faked nothing and says he's been targeted by threats and abuse for simply sharing what he saw. And to this day, no official explanation has been offered for the lights over that ridge. So what are we left with? A frightened man, a forged document, a blurry light, and a story that grew far beyond the footage that started it.
Vocês estão vendo isso, galera? Olha, eu não consigo aproximar mais.
We'll lay it all out and let you be the judge. A genuine encounter, clumsily filmed and wrapped in one bad decision, or a viral sensation built on a sound in the dark and a smudge of light over the trees.
Tem muitas luzes, gente. Olha, não dá para aproximar, o celular não consegue, tá muito longe da minha casa. Gente, olha, ele tá se movimentando.
Before we get to that #1 spot, remember to hit that subscribe button, then tickle that little bell icon there and turn on all channel notifications. That way you'll be in the loop every time we drop our scary and mysterious videos. In the entire history of the Spanish National Police, there is one report unlike any other. It documents banging from empty rooms, a crucifix turned upside down, and a locked door that opened on its own in front of trained officers. It is widely regarded as the first and only official police document in Spain to record events its authors could not explain. This is the Vallecas case, and it began, as these stories so often do, with a teenage girl and a Ouija board. Her name was Estefania Gutierrez Lazaro. She was the eldest of 4 children living with her family in a modest apartment at number 8 Calle Luis Marin in the working-class Vallecas district of Madrid. By most accounts, she was around 18 years old, and she had developed a quiet fascination with the occult. One day at school, Estefania and a couple of friends slipped away with a Ouija board. One of the girls was grieving a boyfriend who'd recently been killed in a motorcycle accident, and they wanted to reach him. But before the session could finish, a teacher discovered them and broke the board apart on the spot. In the years since, one detail has been repeated again and again. The girls claimed that as the board shattered, a strange grey smoke rose from it, and that Estefania breathed it in. Whatever the truth of that moment, what followed is not in dispute. Estefania's health began to collapse. She suffered insomnia, then hallucinations, then violent seizures. She told her family she was seeing things. Tall, hooded figures with no faces, standing at the edge of her vision, beckoning her to come with them. Doctors examined her repeatedly. None could explain what was happening to her. Then, in 1991, only months after that broken seance, Estefania died in hospital. The official cause was recorded as pulmonary asphyxia brought on by a convulsion. She was just 18 years old. For the Gutierrez Lazaro family, the loss alone was devastating. But it was after Estefania's death that the apartment on Calle Luis Marin truly came alive. It started small, the way these things do, then it grew impossible to ignore. The family heard banging from inside the walls, doors opened and closed on their own, objects moved when no one was near them. Estefania's mother said she heard her dead daughter's voice, screaming for her from empty rooms. Laughter, low and male, echoed through the flat with no source. The children began waking in the night. On more than one occasion, they said their wrists were wrenched up and slammed against the wall by something they couldn't see. The mother awoke one night to the feeling of pressure bearing down on her, and then a pair of hands closing around her feet and her arm. And then there was the photograph, a picture of Estefania hung in the living room. One day it caught fire, but the frame and the glass were left untouched. Only the part of the image showing her face had burned. For years, the family endured it. They turned to so-called experts who offered little but empty promises. And then, late in November 1992, more than a year after Estefania's death, the activity became so unbearable that the head of the household did something families in these stories almost never do. He called the police. In the early hours, a patrol led by Chief Inspector Jose Pedro Negri arrived at the building. They expected most likely a routine noise complaint. Instead, they found the entire family huddled outside in the cold, too frightened to go back inside their own home. Negri and his officers entered, and this is the part that has fascinated believers and skeptics alike for over 30 years, because the men who wrote what came next were not paranormal investigators. They were career police officers professionally trained to distrust exactly this kind of claim. In his report, Negri described sitting with the family when a cabinet door, one they had checked and found securely shut, swung open in a way he could only call unnatural. In one of the bedrooms, the officers found a wooden crucifix turned upside down, the figure of Christ torn from it. A poster on the wall developed fresh scratch marks as they watched, and entering the bathroom, said to be the epicenter of it all, the inspector described an oppressive cold and a sensation he struggled to put into words. The report he filed has since become something close to legend in Spain, sober, measured, written in the flat official language of law enforcement, and yet describing things that simply should not be possible. Now, in fairness, Negri himself later offered a note of caution. He admitted that the cabinet door was essentially the only phenomenon the officers directly witnessed with their own eyes. Much of the rest had happened before they arrived, recounted by a grieving, terrified family. Skeptics have pointed to the years of unverified claims, to the inconsistencies in the story, even to the suggestion that grief and the satanic panic of the era had primed everyone involved to see the supernatural in the ordinary. And yet, a door that opens against its own lock in front of 4 police officers is not so easily dismissed. Whatever it was enough to rattle men who had seen almost everything. The Gutierrez Lazaro family never found peace in that apartment. In the end, they did the only thing left to them. They packed up and they moved away. The case went on to inspire films and documentaries, and the address on Calle Luis Marin became one of the most infamous in the country. But strip all of that away, and what remains is starker and sadder. A teenage girl who reached out to the dead and never came back the same, a family who lived in fear for years, and a single police report sitting in an archive in Madrid that admits in plain black ink that something happened in that apartment which no one has ever been able to fully explain. If you want to see more scary videos, then check out those links on the screen right now, and I'll see you in the next one.